Jason Statham was having a terrible day. The famous action star had just learned that his latest movie project was being delayed for 6 months. His agent had called with news that another actor had been cast in a role he really wanted. And to top it all off, he'd gotten a parking ticket even though he was only 5 minutes over the time limit. Jason was usually a disciplined, focused person. Fans loved him for his tough guy roles, but people who knew him personally appreciated his professionalism and quiet determination. Today, however, something was off. The constant pressure of Hollywood, the endless competition for roles, and the public scrutiny had worn him down. "I need some air," Jason muttered to himself as he left his agent's office in downtown Los Angeles. He decided to walk to clear his head, something he rarely had time to do. He put on sunglasses, hoping to avoid being recognized, and set off down the busy street. As Jason walked, his mood grew darker. Every small annoyance seemed magnified. A woman bumped into him without apologizing. A car honked loudly as it passed. Even the bright California sunshine felt like it was mocking his bad mood. After walking for about 15 minutes, Jason came to a small park where people were walking their dogs and enjoying the afternoon. He sat on a bench, watching as people went about their normal lives, feeling strangely disconnected from the peaceful scene around him. Near the bench where Jason sat, several dogs were playing. Their owners stood chatting nearby, not paying much attention to their pets. One dog in particular caught Jason's eye, a muscular bulldog with a friendly face, wearing a stylish collar. The dog was sniffing around near Jason's feet, curious about the newcomer. In that moment, something unusual and troubling came over Jason. A dark thought crossed his mind. What if he pretended to kick the dog? Not actually kick it, he would never really hurt an animal, but just make a kicking motion to scare it. Maybe the shock on people's faces would break through his bad mood. Maybe it would make him feel something other than frustration. It would just be a joke, Jason thought to himself. I won't even touch the dog. Looking around quickly to make sure the dog's owner wasn't watching, Jason made a sudden kicking motion toward the bulldog. He stopped his foot before making contact, but the movement was aggressive enough that the dog yelped in fear and scrambled backward, tail tucked between its legs. Immediately, Jason felt ashamed. What had he been thinking? This wasn't funny, it was cruel. The bulldog was now cowering a few feet away, looking at him with confused, frightened eyes. "Hey, what do you think you're doing?" A woman nearby called out, having seen what happened. Jason turned, embarrassed and regretful. "I'm sorry. I didn't actually touch the dog. It was just a stupid joke." The woman frowned, clearly not accepting his excuse. "That's not a joke. You scared that poor dog for no reason." Other people in the park were starting to look their way now. Some were pointing and whispering, possibly recognizing the famous actor despite his sunglasses. Jason felt his face grow hot with shame. This was bad. If someone took a photo or video, this could be all over social media within hours. Jason Statham kicks dog would be the headline everyone was talking about. Just then, a large, muscular man with tattoos and a shaved head came jogging across the park. He had clearly heard the commotion and was coming to see what was happening. When his eyes landed on his frightened bulldog, his jogging turned into a sprint. It was Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. The Rock loved his bulldog Hobbs. Named after his character in the Fast and Furious movies, Hobbs had been The Rock's loyal companion for the past 3 years. Despite his busy schedule, The Rock made time every day to walk or play with Hobbs. Today, they had come to the park for their usual afternoon break, and The Rock had been chatting with some fans while Hobbs explored nearby. When The Rock heard Hobbs yelp, he immediately knew something was wrong. His dog rarely showed fear, and the sound made him drop his conversation mid-sentence and run to check on his pet. "What's going on here?" The Rock asked, his voice deep and serious as he approached. He knelt beside Hobbs, who pressed against his leg, still trembling slightly. The woman who had called out Jason spoke up. "That man pretended to kick your dog," she said, pointing at Jason. "He scared the poor thing." The Rock looked up, his eyes narrowing as he recognized Jason Statham. The two actors had worked together on the Fast and Furious spin-off Hobbs and Shaw, playing unlikely allies who eventually became friends. Off-screen, they had a professional relationship based on mutual respect, though they weren't close friends. Jason, The Rock said, surprise and disappointment clear in his voice. Is that true? Jason felt sick with shame. Not only had he frightened an innocent dog, but that dog belonged to someone he knew and respected professionally. The small crowd gathering around them made the situation even more uncomfortable. Dwayne, I'm sorry, Jason said, using The Rock's real name. I've been having a terrible day, and I did something stupid. But that's no excuse for scaring Hobbs. The Rock stood up to his full height, towering over Jason. His usual friendly smile was nowhere to be seen. You're right. That's no excuse, he said firmly. Everyone has bad days, man, but we don't take them out on animals who can't defend themselves. Jason nodded, accepting the criticism. You're absolutely right. I'm truly sorry. By now, several people had their phones out, possibly recording the confrontation. This was quickly becoming a PR nightmare for Jason. He could almost see the headlines and social media posts that would follow. I think you should leave, The Rock said, his voice level but cold. Hobbs and I need some space. Jason nodded again. Of course. Again, I'm very sorry. He turned to walk away, feeling the weight of his mistake growing heavier with each step. And Jason, The Rock called after him. Jason turned back. Get your head straight, man. This isn't like you. As Jason walked away, he could hear people in the crowd whispering and the clicks of camera phones. He knew his reputation was about to take a serious hit. But right now, all he could think about was the frightened dog and the disappointed look in The Rock's eyes. What kind of person had he become that he would scare an animal for his own amusement? This wasn't the Jason Statham he wanted to be. By that evening, videos of the incident were all over social media. The headlines were exactly what Jason had feared. Action star Jason Statham kicks The Rock's beloved bulldog. Statham's cruel joke backfires when dog's owner turns out to be The Rock. Hollywood friendship on the rocks after dog kicking incident. The videos clearly showed that Jason hadn't actually touched Hobbs, but the sight of the frightened bulldog and The Rock's serious face made Jason look terrible. Jason sat in his home office, scrolling through his phone in disbelief. The comments were brutal. Lost all respect for Statham. Who thinks scaring a helpless animal is funny? The Rock showed amazing restraint. I would have lost it if someone did that to my dog. Always thought Jason Statham was cool. Guess his tough guy act isn't just for the cameras, he bullies animals too. His publicist had called multiple times, wanting to issue a statement immediately. Several movie studios had already contacted his agent, expressing concerns about ongoing projects. Jason knew he needed to respond, but he wanted his apology to be sincere, not just damage control. First, he sent a private message to The Rock. Dwayne, I can't express how sorry I am for my behavior today. It was completely out of character and inexcusable. I understand if you don't want to talk to me right now, but I would appreciate the chance to apologize to you and Hobbs in person. Then he recorded a video on his phone and posted it to his social media accounts. Looking directly into the camera, without any fancy lighting or preparation, Jason spoke honestly. Today, I did something I'm deeply ashamed of. I pretended to kick a dog as some kind of joke. It wasn't funny. It wasn't acceptable. It wasn't who I want to be. The dog, who I later learned belongs to my colleague Dwayne Johnson, was frightened, and understandably so. I want to apologize to Dwayne, to Hobbs, and to everyone who has supported me over the years. I let you down, and I'm sorry. I'm going to take some time to reflect on why I would do something so completely contrary to my values, and how I can make amends. Thank you. After posting the video, Jason turned off his phone. He needed time to think, to figure out why he had acted so out of character. The pressure of fame, the disappointments of his career lately, the feeling that he was losing control of his own life, it had all built up inside him until he'd lashed out in the worst possible way. Meanwhile, at The Rock's home, Hobbs had recovered from his scare and was playing in the backyard with a toy. The Rock was sitting on his patio, watching the dog with a thoughtful expression. His phone buzzed with Jason's message, and he read it carefully before putting the phone down. The Rock wasn't one to hold grudges. He believed in second chances and in learning from mistakes. But he also believed in consequences. Jason needed to understand the impact of his actions, not just on Hobbs, but on all the people who looked up to him as a role model. The Rock's girlfriend joined him on the patio. "Have you seen Jason's apology video?" she asked. The Rock nodded. "Yeah. He seems genuinely sorry. Do you think he meant it?" The Rock watched Hobbs running happily across the lawn. "I think he did. But being sorry isn't always enough. He needs to understand why what he did was so wrong." "Are you going to respond to his message?" The Rock considered this. "Not yet. Let him sit with it for a while. Sometimes the best lessons come from having to wait and reflect." For the next week, Jason Statham withdrew from public life. He canceled appearances, postponed meetings, and spent time alone thinking about what had happened. He took long walks, practiced meditation, and wrote in a journal, trying to understand the darkness that had overtaken him that day. One morning, Jason's longtime friend and fellow actor called him. "Mate, what's going on with you?" his friend asked directly. "I've known you for 15 years, and you've never done anything like this." Jason sighed. "I've been asking myself the same question. I think I've been feeling trapped lately. Like I'm just going through the motions in my career, in my life. But that's no excuse for what I did." "No, it's not," his friend agreed. "But it might be the reason. And knowing the reason is the first step to making sure it doesn't happen again." "The Rock hasn't responded to my message," Jason said. "I don't blame him." His friend was quiet for a moment. "You know, when we mess up, apologizing is just the start. You need to show that you've changed through your actions." Jason thought about this advice after the call ended. His friend was right. Words were easy. Actions were what really counted. But what action could possibly make up for what he had done? After much thought, Jason came up with a plan. It wouldn't erase his mistake, but it might be a step toward making amends. The next day, Jason made some calls. He contacted several animal welfare organizations, offering substantial donations. But more importantly, he asked how he could help personally, not just with money, but with his time and his public platform. He learned about the issues facing animal shelters and the importance of responsible pet ownership. What started as an attempt to make amends for one bad decision began to turn into something more meaningful. Jason found himself genuinely interested in animal welfare issues. He spent hours at a local shelter, listening to the stories of dogs who had been abandoned or mistreated, and helping with their care. Meanwhile, The Rock had been quietly observing Jason's actions from afar. He saw the posts from animal welfare organizations thanking Jason for his support. He heard from mutual friends who had seen Jason volunteering at shelters, not for publicity but doing real, hands-on work with the animals. Finally, 2 weeks after the incident, The Rock responded to Jason's message. "Actions speak louder than words, and I've been watching yours. If you're serious about making this right, meet me at the Paws and Claws Rescue Center tomorrow at 10 a.m. Wear clothes you don't mind getting dirty." When Jason received the message, he felt a mix of relief and anxiety. This was his chance to apologize in person, but he was also nervous about facing The Rock again after what had happened. The next morning, Jason arrived at the Paws and Claws Rescue Center at 9:45 a.m. He wore simple jeans and a t-shirt, ready for whatever task The Rock had in mind. The shelter was a large facility with multiple buildings and outdoor areas for the animals, and the sound of barking could be heard as he approached the entrance. The Rock was already there, talking with one of the staff members. When he saw Jason, he gave a small nod but didn't smile. "Thank you for meeting me," Jason said as he approached. "Thanks for coming," The Rock replied formally. "I've been supporting this place for years. These dogs have had hard lives. Many have been abused or abandoned. They need people they can trust." Jason understood the message behind The Rock's words. Trust was easily broken but hard to rebuild. "I want to help," he said sincerely. The Rock led Jason to an area behind the main building where several large pens needed cleaning. "We're doing the dirty work today. Cleaning pens, washing dog beds, organizing donations. That okay with you?" "Absolutely," Jason agreed without hesitation. For the next several hours, Jason worked alongside The Rock and other volunteers, cleaning and preparing fresh bedding for the rescue dogs. The work was physical and messy, but Jason threw himself into it completely. He had always believed in the value of hard work, and there was something almost cleansing about the physical labor and the knowledge that he was helping animals in need. As they worked, The Rock gradually began to talk more, telling Jason about some of the dogs at the shelter. "That German Shepherd over there? Found tied to a highway guardrail. The pit bull mix? Used as a bait dog in a fighting ring. Each one of these animals has been through something terrible, but they still have the capacity to trust again." Jason listened, understanding that The Rock was helping him see these animals as individuals with their own stories and feelings, not just as props for a thoughtless joke. During a short break, Jason finally asked the question that had been on his mind. "How's Hobbs doing?" The Rock's expression softened slightly at the mention of his dog. "He's all right. Dogs bounce back quicker than people do." Jason nodded, relieved but still ashamed. "I'm truly sorry, Dwayne. Not just for the public embarrassment, but for frightening Hobbs." The Rock studied Jason's face, looking for sincerity. After a moment, he seemed satisfied with what he saw. "I believe you. But here's the thing, Jason. One moment like that can have lasting effects. Not just on Hobbs, but on all the people who look up to you." "I know," Jason acknowledged. "I've been thinking about that a lot. About how many fans, especially kids, watch my movies and follow me online. What kind of example was I setting?" "Exactly," The Rock said. "But you also have the power to set a different example now. To show that everyone makes mistakes, but it's how we respond to those mistakes that matters." As they went back to work, a staff member approached them. "We have a new arrival that needs special attention," she explained. "A bulldog actually similar to Hobbs. He was surrendered by his owners who couldn't care for him anymore. He's very withdrawn and won't eat." The Rock turned to Jason. "Want to try? Sometimes a calm, patient presence is what they need most." Jason was surprised by the offer but nodded. "I'd like to try." The staff member led them to a quiet room where a white bulldog was curled up in the corner of a large crate. He didn't even look up when they entered the room. "His name is Bruce," the staff member said. His owners named him after Bruce Willis, apparently. Jason approached the crate slowly and sat down on the floor nearby, not looking directly at the dog. The Rock watched from the doorway, his expression thoughtful. "Hey, Bruce," Jason said softly. "I'm Jason. I know things are rough right now. Everything's new and strange." "That's scary." Jason continued talking quietly to the dog, not making any moves toward him, just letting Bruce get used to his presence and voice. After about 20 minutes, something small but significant happened. The bulldog lifted his head slightly, looking at Jason with sad eyes. "That's actually progress," the staff member whispered from the doorway. "He hasn't acknowledged anyone else." Jason stayed with Bruce for over an hour, just talking gently and being present. By the end of the session, the dog had moved slightly closer to the front of the crate, though he was still clearly hesitant. As they left the room, The Rock put a hand on Jason's shoulder. "You did good in there. That dog sensed your patience." "Thank you for giving me the chance," Jason said, "to try to make things right." The Rock nodded. "Everyone deserves a second chance. It's what you do with it that counts." Over the next months, Jason Statham became a regular volunteer at the Paws and Claws Rescue Center. His work with Bruce continued, and slowly the withdrawn bulldog began to trust him. The day Bruce finally ate food from Jason's hand was a moment of quiet triumph for both of them. The Rock often volunteered on the same days, and gradually their relationship moved from professional politeness to genuine respect and eventual friendship. They rarely talked about the incident that had brought them together, focusing instead on the animals they were helping and their shared interests. Meanwhile, the public's perception of Jason began to shift as well. News outlets that had criticized him now ran stories about his dedication to animal welfare. Photos of him walking shelter dogs or cleaning kennels appeared online, not as carefully staged publicity shots but as genuine moments captured by other volunteers. Jason found that his work at the shelter was affecting other areas of his life too. He approached his career with renewed passion and purpose, being more selective about his roles and finding ways to use his platform for positive change. The frustration and darkness that had led to his terrible decision that day in the park had been replaced by a sense of meaning and connection. One Sunday, as Jason was finishing his shift at the center, The Rock approached him with a proposal. "I've been thinking about something. The shelter needs a new building for rehabilitation and training. I'm organizing a charity event next month, a fitness challenge with some other athletes and actors. Want to participate?" Jason was surprised and touched by the invitation. "I'd be honored, though I'm not sure I can match your workout routine." The Rock laughed, a genuine laugh that showed how far they had come. "We'll see about that. Maybe I'll finally find out if those action scenes of yours are all camera tricks." As they walked out to the parking lot together, The Rock added, "I was thinking you might want to come over to my place this weekend for a barbecue. Hobbs will be there." Jason stopped walking, understanding the significance of the invitation. "Are you sure? About Hobbs, I mean." The Rock nodded. "He's a forgiving sort, and I think it would be good for both of you to have a positive interaction." The following weekend, Jason arrived at The Rock's home feeling nervous but grateful for the opportunity. When he entered the backyard, Hobbs was playing with a toy. The bulldog looked up as Jason approached, and Jason held his breath, worried that the dog would remember him and be frightened. But instead of cowering or running away, Hobbs trotted over curiously, sniffing at Jason's hand. "He doesn't seem to remember me," Jason said, feeling relieved yet strangely sad. "Dogs don't hold grudges the way people do," The Rock explained. "They live in the present." Jason knelt down, letting Hobbs sniff him thoroughly before gently petting the dog's head. "Thank you," he said, looking up at The Rock. "Not just for this, but for everything. For holding me accountable, for giving me the chance to be better." The Rock nodded in acknowledgement. "You know, when that video first went viral, everyone kept asking me if I was going to hold a grudge against you. I was angry at first, sure. But then I realized something important." "What's that?" Jason asked. "We all have moments we're not proud of. Times when we act out of character. The difference is, most people's mistakes aren't captured on video and shared with millions of people." Jason understood. His lowest moment had been public, his journey to make amends equally so. But there was something valuable in that transparency, in showing that even people who seemed to have everything figured out could make serious mistakes and then find their way back. Later that evening, as they enjoyed dinner on the patio, The Rock raised his glass in a toast. "To second chances," he said simply. "To second chances," Jason echoed, feeling the weight and the hope in those words. The charity event the following month was a huge success, raising enough money for the new rehabilitation building at Paws and Claws and bringing attention to the important work the center was doing. Jason and The Rock participated side by side in the fitness challenges, their friendly competition entertaining the crowd. At the end of the event, they made a joint announcement. They would be co-funding a new program at the center, focused on rehabilitating dogs with fear and trust issues and educating the public about responsible pet ownership. As they left the stage together, The Rock said quietly to Jason, "You know what the best part of this is? That it's not just about making amends anymore. It's become something real for you, hasn't it?" Jason nodded. "It has. These animals, what they've taught me about resilience and trust, it's changed me." And it was true. What had begun as a terrible mistake had led Jason Statham to discover a new purpose. The action star known for his tough guy roles now found his greatest fulfillment in the quiet moments helping traumatized animals heal. The man who had once pretended to kick a dog for a laugh now spent his free time advocating for those who couldn't speak for themselves. As for Hobbs, The Rock's resilient bulldog, he had moved on from the incident long ago. Dogs, after all, don't dwell on past offenses or worry about future slights. They live fully in the present moment, offering lessons in forgiveness and second chances to anyone wise enough to learn from them.